Hey guys, welcome back. Happy Saturday, guys. In today's video, we have a lot to cover. I'll be doing a deep dive analysis, sharing with you the latest updates around Bitcoin market. Most of you are wondering how high will Bitcoin really go up and what does this mean for a Bitcoin miner company like CleanSpark? We'll cover the latest quarterly result updates from CleanSpark announcement, as well as share with you my price predictions using technical analysis indicators of CleanSpark, especially with Bitcoin price expected to have a big time bull run. Now, if you're new to this channel, first off, I'm so grateful that you're here. I would really encourage hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. Let's get started, guys. First off, let's talk about Bitcoin as one of the top assets by market cap, currently ranked 5. Bitcoin bypass Google, Amazon. They're right behind Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft. There are only 3 companies away to bypass the Mag 7, and eventually they're going to be right behind gold, ranked number 2 as the top asset class by market cap. Now, how long will it take for Bitcoin to get to number 1? It'll just be a matter of a couple years, I believe. I think that Bitcoin is going to be the leading top asset by market cap. It's not a matter of if, but just over time, we're going to see Bitcoin be embraced and it'll be a multiple trillion-dollar asset by market cap. And this is why we truly need to embrace Bitcoin, whether you're new to the game, if you don't have any Bitcoin, if you have Bitcoin, great. Start small, whether it's even like $100 Bitcoin, zero point zero 0.01 Bitcoin is a lot, zero point 0.1 Bitcoin is a lot, even getting to like a quarter of a Bitcoin is a lot. But it's only going to get more and more difficult as you wait and you don't embrace Bitcoin. So study it, learn it, and it's time to adapt to this new digital asset. We're looking at the United States. Obviously, we only see a few states left, like Nevada, Washington, that remain black, but orange is the new black. Every state right now is rushing towards getting the strategic Bitcoin reserve approved. We've heard, states like New Hampshire as the number 1 state that got Bitcoin enacted into their state where they can buy a portion of their uh, money using Bitcoin, as well as Arizona, number 2 state now, getting enacted as well. And it'll just be a matter of time where we're going to hear the following states where proposals do get approved. For example, once we hear Texas getting an approval for buying Bitcoin using their treasury, that's going to be a big time announcement because once we start hearing states using their money to buy up Bitcoin, what does that mean? Bitcoin price, we're going to be in a supply shock. I mean, all countries are hodling right now. Financial institutions like, BlackRock, Fidelity, they're buying up as much Bitcoin as they can get. Even big time companies like Strategy and the miners just continuously mining every day. But at one point, there's going to be a push and pull. And what does that mean? The demand is just going to keep skyrocketing. Supply shock is going to happen, and Bitcoin price is just going to go to the moon. Let's take a look at this visual from the Bitcoin magazine. So we have 21 million Bitcoin with a total of 8.1 billion people all around this world. Key thing is when you do the math, it's very difficult for most people to even own 1 Bitcoin. So that's why it's important to just stack sats, start on a small scale, whatever you can do, embrace it, study it. Why? Because if you wait, it's only going to be more and more difficult to buy Bitcoin in the long-term course. So most of you are wondering, why buy Bitcoin at 100K when, it can go down after the bull cycle and I can buy then? Well, most people think like that and end up not even buying Bitcoin because with that mindset, you're looking at it from a rear view mirror. You have to look at it from a forward perspective. You can never time the market, but it's always important to have timing in the market. Bitcoin gradually increases by 30% every year. Here's an interesting visual in that how much women do we have in this world? I mean, look at it, put it into perspective, close to about 3.9 billion of woman. Now we only have 21 million Bitcoin available. You can get a girlfriend later. So definitely, focusing on, Bitcoin first and, the woman will follow. Here's an interesting visual in that we see financial institutions, you see Vanguard, Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab. What are they doing? With recent dates of like May 9th. Well, Vanguard, Goldman Sachs, they filed updates that they've been just increasing their share count percentage for CleanSpark. This is big news. You see Vanguard buying up 24 million shares of CleanSpark. What is Goldman Sachs and Charles Schwab doing? They're doing the same thing. They're buying low right now at like single digits. Why? Because they know this is how these financial institutions will really gain traction, get return on investment value for, really undervalued stocks like CleanSpark. Just with this posting from Rex Finance, I would encourage following Rex as well, but just with his posts in that HC Wainwright iterates their buy rating on their top pick with a $25 price target. So most of you are wondering, is now even a time for CleanSpark to even get to that levels? We've seen CleanSpark do that back in like late 2023 where it was $3 and with the matter of weeks it went to like $24, 800% gain. And since then it's just been bleeding out. But I think what goes down, very quickly, it has, the velocity and the power for it to just shoot back up very quick. So definitely some upside. We'll cover the latest updates with the quarterly results as well as technical analysis of CleanSpark. Here's an interesting post from Chase Freedom in that Bitcoin proxy investors have made two demands loud and clear. One, stack sats on the balance sheet. Two, stop diluting with endless ATM raises. Timing is everything, and CleanSpark appears to have won this round versus Iron. Now, let me know what your thoughts are, what your predictions are between like CleanSpark and Iron in the comments down below. I'd love to hear that. The beauty of CleanSpark is that it beats MSTR on Strategy's own metrics right now. That's an interesting take. Let me know what your thoughts are down below as well. When do you think we will see that dynamic reverse for Iron? Is there a catalyst you are watching for? So, definitely some good assessments in that, there's, Bitcoin proxies with two demands right now, stacking sats and finding ways not to dilute shares. With all of that, let's pivot over to technical analysis. So what we're looking at right now is the technicals of CleanSpark. So what I have drawn is, a bull flag, CleanSpark, it's been at a high point since like, the March timeframe of 2024, but what has happened since then? It's just been bleeding out since then. But as we, zoom in to November timeframe during the Trump, announcement winning the presidency, that's when CleanSpark shot up to, like $18. What happened since November? It's just been tracing down in this bull flag, lower lows in this downward slope. But one of the key things that I like seeing is reversal patterns. We've seen the reversal pattern with the oversold situation with relative strength back in February, under 20. And now it's beginning to creep back up, also with volume picking up. And the key indicator is we're seeing, at that low touch point support of that bull flag, we're seeing the price action. Market participants are pushing the price up. We're seeing a reversal. MACD is reversing. Relative strength is picking up. We see the 50-day SMA crossing. And now the price action is close to breaking through the 200-day SMA. That's going to be a key indicator for a crossing that's going to be very key. The last crossing between the 50 and 200-day SMA was September 2024. That's going to be a big indicator, but it looks like we're soon going to be having that crossing between the 250-day. What happened with the crossing, back in December 2023? That's when that price, shot up. So, we may very well see the price shoot up with that, that crossing that we're expected to see. And what does that mean? Let's say Bitcoin price goes to 140, 200K in this cycle. I think that CleanSpark very well has that potential to get to like that $50 range. So that'll be like, the 40, $50 range, which is like, 5x from where it currently is right now. We were like at that low $0.6. And I think come next week, we're gonna be talking about CleanSpark in the double digit range again. So, it's all about time in the market. Timing the market is very difficult. I know some of you are like, bag holding with the high cost average, but you know what? Remain patient. Just don't let the emotions come into play. Why? Because CleanSpark is about to break through this prior resistance $12 tier one. Eventually, once we see the price action hover around that price for some time, that'll be the new support level back in that $12 range. And then we'll see it climb into the second tier, which will be, $16 prior resistance. And then we're gonna retest that $25. I'm thinking somewhere in this quarter alone, but Q3 is where we're gonna see some rocket launches, I believe, especially with a pro Bitcoin president, with Trump, indicating to buy stocks, buy Bitcoin right now because it's gonna just shoot to the moon. Well, you know what? Miners, we've been beaten down for the last couple of months, but I think the velocity is really going to change quickly. When these things run, it runs to the level that, other stocks cannot catch up with. So that's my takeaway. But let's go ahead and talk about the quarterly updates from CleanSpark. So we're looking at CLSK's KPI. So end of March, their month-end operating hash rate, very bolstered amount, 42.4 exahash. Their fleet efficiency, 17.03. I mean, they're right behind Iron, one of the leading industry pure Bitcoin miners right now. In terms of how many miners that are hashing, they have 205,000 miners hashing with the cost to mine of 34,000. When you put that into perspective with Bitcoin over 100K right now, that's just big time profits when you look at the return margins. Total sites, they have 32 sites and they continue to grow. With their overall monthly production, 706 Bitcoin. I mean, they're right behind Mara. They're catching up very quickly. Overall Q1 revenue earnings, just with $162 million, definitely growing their market capitalization with the revenue that they bring in. And they own 5% of the global hash rate. That is big when you look at it from a global scale. Their Bitcoin HODL, I mean, 11,869. So, they're in that top five HODL right now, with, 21 Capital, entering the poker table. You have Strategy, you have Mara, you have, Cantor Fitzgerald, 21 Capital, and you have Riot Platforms, and you have, CleanSpark. But one of the key things is their mining production, their fleet efficiency, their bolster target to get to 50 exahash, come June of this year. One of the big things is their total assets right now, close to $3 billion in market cap, just with their cash on reserve and their liquidity. And one of the good things that CleanSpark is trying to do is they're trying to limit, pulling the lever for using the ATM, finding ways not to dilute shareholder value, and just find ways to build operational excellence through the increase in the mining production and the auto balance, and just finding ways to scale up their energy capacity. So definitely, very solid, lean, strategic ways to improve operational scale and capital stewardship. As we look at the Bitcoin mining production, since that halving event back in April, we saw that big drawdown where, the miners did, fairly underperforming after that halving event. Shorters took advantage of that. I mean, that was across the board. And then come November time, the Bitcoin price started running up again. But since November, price for miners have been going down, but you see this gradual increase. This is very solid, hitting 706 Bitcoins mined. Definitely some solid numbers. Eventually we're going to start seeing it get into the 800, Bitcoins mined per month. But think about that when Bitcoin price gets to like 1 million, that's going to be huge. But as we look at the overall like operational sites, you have sites in Wyoming, Tennessee, Georgia, Mississippi. So they're diversifying. There are different locations right now, with very solid fleet efficiency, with the contracted capacity, the data center sites that they have, and fully 100% owned and operated. This is really allowing for them not to like put everything in, all their eggs in one basket in one state, diversifying and really trying to scale on the improved Bitcoin mining. So this visual just tells you everything in that first half of the year, once we get towards June, what they're doing is they're just upgrading their miner fleets. They're installing, mining miners right now. All locations are, running, even in the Wyoming site, they're installing, immersion cooled Bitcoin mining technology there. There's just so much going on right now. Everything is like on full throttle, with that bolstered 50 exahash by first half of the year. This company is just gonna just skyrocket, I believe. Improved mining revenue, improved fleet efficiency, bringing down that cost for energy wattage. Overall, this company is just gonna, I think the stock price is just gonna shoot up, like a 3 to 5x from where we are right now. But definitely, we're going to hear a lot more news as we head towards the month of June. So it's going to be very exciting. And, I think the overall HODL amounts is just going to grow as the fleet efficiency improves. The operational efficiency is going to scale up. This company may very well be like a top competitor of Mara in terms of hash rate mining production. But when you think about it, they have very lean operations, and having a high return on margin when it comes to costs to mine for Bitcoin, along with growing their balance sheet. So I think that shareholders feel really good about this, given the fact that the HODL balance is increasing, Bitcoin price is increasing. So definitely a company that's showing that it's maturing over the long term course, with lowest cost to mine and the ability to, successfully scale out its blueprint to different facilities, because it's working. So they're just going to continue, duplicating that strategy, expanding, and become like one of the biggest, pure Bitcoin miner play in the entire world. So just to look at the overall balance sheet, one thing I want to just share is the balance sheet, just to give us a snapshot of where we are. So end of December, we see total assets growing 2.7 versus 1.9 back in September 2024. So definitely some growth as we see, although we do see liabilities increasing as well, with the stockholders' equity, meaning just stocks and all of that. But as the company continues to grow, I think that this company share price is going to just skyrocket. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed another episode here at All I See Is W. If you're new to this channel, first off, I would really appreciate hitting the like, subscribing. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Thanks, guys.